I did have a bit of a spell of a few years off, sort of over the COVID period. I actually developed severe depression, and I wasn't doing any sport whatsoever. In fact, I wasn't even out of bed. I was signed off from work for about 10 months. I was really depressed. And I think that happened. It was just a culmination of a lot of different factors. But I think the lockdown over COVID and the sudden withdrawal of all the goals that I'd set for that year just kind of like tipped me over the edge, also in conjunction with having the menopause at that time.
So, hello and welcome to Sweet Liberation today. We are super excited to have a guest that I met recently, and I'll tell you all about that in a moment. Our lovely Gwen Kinsey. Hello, Gwen.
Hello.
Hello. Super excited to have you here. Luke remembers all of your titles. I can't remember.
Well, yes, we're talking just now.
Gwen is
two times world champion triathlete, multiple European triathlete champion, and as a modern pentathlete world champion as well. Have I got that correct?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Gwen, you basically are a superstar, and I just need to tell everybody how we met. You and I, it was serendipity that put us together on a flight, and we just got on like a house on fire. I said, you must come on the podcast.
Thank
you. We are so happy to have you here, and we want to hear basically all about your career, what you're doing in your life right now, and I just think there's something so inspiring about being around athletes.
Yes.
We just want to hear all about it. So Gwen, it was wonderful meeting you. I know you were going to do an event in Ibiza, and that's how we met. We met on a plane. So tell us how your event went, and tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you get to become an athlete and to do so well in your career?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, the event in Ibiza. So I finished second in my age group in that, which for me, I was really happy about it, because I think I mentioned on the plane that I had a foot injury, and I've still got that injury. So I wasn't entirely sure I was going to finish the triathlon. So I was going to swim and bike really, really hard, and then just see how it was after that. So I got off the bike, and I knew I was in a really strong position. There was a photographer actually sort of taking snippets of me doing my transition. And I said, am I high up in the women's field? And he said, yeah, there's only been a few that have gone through transition. And then I heard him say that, and I thought, I can't just stop now. I can't just abandon this race. So I put my trainers on, and I thought, well, I'll run round to the end of this lap where the finish is, and then just see how it is. And if it's bad, I'll just stop there. But of course, in Ibiza, the crowds were just amazing, especially running down that kind of finish area. They were all like partying to dance music and getting really behind the athletes. And I thought, well, I can't stop now, can I? There's another 3 laps to the finish. Each time I went round for an extra lap, I was like, well, if the pain's got to more than 5 out of 10, I'm going to stop. And it was kind of hovering about that. But I thought, now I've got to really, I've come this far. I've done the majority of the race. I've just got to finish it. So I got through the line, and didn't really know where I'd finished, because it was like what they call a rolling start, where you just sort of, you cross the start line just whenever. And the timing starts when you cross that line, and then when you finish. But yeah, I found out I got silver at that. So yeah, I was really delighted at that.
Amazing.
Just a quick thing. What are the distances for the swim, bike ride, and run?
Well, for that particular event, I'd never raced that exact distance before, but it was run by the T100. So it's 100 kilometers in total, a 2K swim, which was obviously in the sea, and that was absolutely gorgeous. It was crystal clear. You'd sort of swam out from the beach and around this massive island and straight back in. And then it was an 80-kilometer bike ride, and finished with an 18K on the run.
Crikey.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations. Like, massive inspiration. I'm just in awe of you. Amazing. So tell us, Gwen, when did you get into athletics? Have you always been like a really sporty person? How did all this journey begin?
Yeah, so I have always been really sporty. I think it just came from my parents, really. So, I mean, my mum grew up on a farm, so she was always around animals and riding, and she was a county level hockey player. Dad didn't do anything particularly. He was just active. He enjoyed walking and messing around with his brothers. But I think so they actually had a pony even before I was born. So I just sort of came along, and mum put me on a pony like almost straight away, and got me into riding, and also myself and my sister, we were taught to swim from a really young age, just for a safety point of view. So we were both from probably about the age of 3. So those were the two sports that we started initially, riding and swimming. And then as we grew a bit older, and we got into sort of like racing, doing swimming races, we joined the swimming club. We were both in the pony club and did a whole variety of different activities to do with that. But then once we got to about sort of 10, I guess it was, we heard of this event called Pony Club Triathlon, which is those two sports plus running and shooting. So we were introduced into that by some other older members of the club who were already doing it, and yeah, we both really took to that, and both of us won our different age categories in the first race we did. And just it was just addictive straight away doing that. And if you do something, you become successful quite quickly. You're like, oh yeah, I want to do more of this, because I know I've only just started learning about this event, so I know I can improve rapidly. So it just sort of evolved from there. And then when I was 15, I picked up the fencing. So that was all the 5 sports that comprised modern pentathlon. So you had shooting, fencing, horse riding, swimming, and running. And got onto the British squad fairly quickly and competed as a junior, and then went on through into the senior ranks, and won a world championship gold and a silver in the team relay event in 99 and 2000. So yes, I just fell short of making the Olympic team in 2000, but yeah, I kind of thought after that, I thought, right, it's time to get on and retire from this, and get on with, career wise, and do something a bit different then.
Amazing. I mean, wow. Massive hats off and so much respect.
Well, we say chapeau in cycling, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. I must admit, I love watching sport, but I'm a bit of a solo thing, doing my little bit of keep fit here. But you inspire me. You inspire me, Gwen.
That means a lot. Whenever anyone tells me that, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do, to be, probably, getting towards the end of my sort of high level career. I definitely want to inspire others in whatever level of activity they want to do, literally just going from nothing to actually doing something, even just a bit of walking or whatever. It is so important, especially as we get older in life too.
Yes, and that was one of the things we were talking about on the plane, when, because you mentioned in this conversation age categories. So tell us about that, because I know nothing about how people compete in your sport. So tell us about that.
Yes, well, in terms of triathlon, once you get to, I think it's even as early as 16, it's all sort of age banded, and it's in categories of 5-year age bands. So take, for example, I just came back from the World Championship on Monday, and we raced last, well, it was over 4 days, because there was so many different age categories, and the elites and the juniors and the under 23s. That you've got age groupers going right up to, I think that the oldest person was like 85 to 89 category.
Wow.
Which, and this chap did the sprint, which was on the Thursday, and then the standard, which is like effectively double a sprint distance, on the Saturday. And to do both of those within 3 days is just so impressive. And when he got up on that podium and got his gold medals, we were like, almost standing ovation for him, because that's what we all want to be doing at that still taking part and being active at that kind of age.
That's amazing. It's so inspiring. It's so inspiring. And we were talking, of course, about, well, your age category, my age category. I think we fit into the same age category, which I must say is the most fabulous age category of all. But we were talking about that and a peak performance. So how are you maintaining yourself, your health goals? Has it changed as you've aged, or I think you just going for it in the same way? Anything changed?
Well, I did have a bit of a spell of a few years off, sort of over the COVID period. I actually developed severe depression, and I wasn't doing any sport whatsoever. In fact, I wasn't even out of bed. I was signed off from work for about 10 months. I was really depressed, and I think that happened. It was just a culmination of a lot of different factors. But I think the lockdown over COVID and the sudden withdrawal of all the goals that I'd set for that year, it just kind of like tipped me over the edge. Also in conjunction with having the menopause at that time. So I had quite a while off, and it took me a little while just to get my life back on track. But the sport was a big part of that, actually. And also, I think you probably hear him in the background, the dog. the dog, well, not this dog, but my mother's dog. That really helped, get me back out of the house again, because I kind of like hidden away and was really stuck in bed, other than doing absolutely essential things. I was getting no exercise, and when you get into that level of a deep, dark spiral, it's so difficult to get out, because you don't want to talk to anyone, even the people, your family that you're living with. But basically what happened was, the catalyst was my mum came down with her dog, left the dog with me and said, look, I'm going off to see your sister. I'm coming back in a few days. Obviously the dog's got to be walked, and I'm a big animal lover. So it forced me out. I don't think I'd have got out of the house at that point without having that dog that needed to be walked. So I got out, took the dog for a walk, and it was quite a nice sunny day. Went into the woods where no one could see me, and I thought, wow, it's not too bad out there. It's not, nobody's going to judge me. I'm just walking along in the woods and actually having a reasonable sort of time. It was better than being in bed trying to sleep and do nothing. So gradually I built up from there, and then I started thinking, I wonder if I could ever race again, because at the point I was thinking, oh, no way would I ever certainly be able to run again. And I thought, well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? So I had a look on the racing calendar. It was actually kind of midway through the summer at this point, so there weren't that many competitions left. Obviously I would need a bit of time to get fit again. So I was looking at competitions, domestic ones, towards the end of the year, and I thought, well, yeah, there's a few left. I didn't fancy doing a triathlon because I knew like the run would be a big problem, and that had been one of my strengths in the past. I wouldn't have wanted to have done that, but I thought, well, actually, there's this aquabike event in Bournemouth, and it's even a qualifier for a world champs for the following year. So I did about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks of training leading up to this thing. And I didn't actually feel too bad on the swim and the bike. Like running around transition was an issue, but that was a small part of the race. And so suddenly I was like, yeah, I reckon I can do this again. And then as time went on, I thought, right, the running took a lot longer to come back because I'd put on more than 2 stones. I was quite overweight, and all the muscles around the knees and things had all just wasted away over that period of time. But eventually I got back to a reasonable kind of running shape, and then introduced some events with running in, and gradually got back to it. And yeah, I think that the sort of British age group triathlon is like such a great family, and everyone was saying, oh, where have you been? I haven't seen you for a few years. And then you start telling the tale, and other people start saying, oh yeah, I had issues over COVID and so on as well. So it's like a big kind of family community, and suddenly I was like, yeah, I want to be back in that, and I want to be winning world championships again. So that was it, right? These are the targets then for the next few years.
What an amazing comeback story! I love the fact that you had a family member with kind of an accidental insight, or maybe she nudged you, your mum nudged you back. doing
definitely.
that?
It was like the only thing left that they could try with me, because I
Oh,
things, or I just wasn't prepared to.
bless her.
I was in such a deep, dark place. But she thought, well, if there's anything that might work, it's dog walking. So
Amazing. What insight to have, and that we are privileged to have you here on the show, and that you've made such a comeback. And even I remember speaking to you on the plane before your event in Ibiza, and you said you had a bit of an injury, so you weren't even sure if you were going to be able to, and you came, it was silver.
Yeah.
It's your one comeback story. I
Brilliant.
love it.
Brilliant.
I
Yeah.
love it. Must be itching to know a bit more with your background in cycling.
Well, actually, there's a book that you all know by Steve Peters about the chimp paradox as well, and he was helping people within the Sky team, and obviously within cycling as well with the British team. And one of the things that he does always talk about is actually managing the psychological effect of the coming and going, because of the Olympics being that 4-year cycle. It's very hard. So of course, the second Olympics is over, right, you're into planning, aren't you, then for the next Olympics, and keep that going. But I certainly know that, and we talk about this, actually, it lends itself very well, actually, this topic with lockdown, and some of the things that we talk about, as well as that people, the mental health issue with lockdown for a lot of people turning to food, and then everybody's sort of waist size slightly growing during that, and actually helping people back into that is a little bit about what the Sweet Liberation's about, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Excellent.
I know. I mean, I remember when I met Gwen, this is such a healthy person story. I've got to tell you, this is off the scale healthy.
I can imagine.
She looks ripped, first of all. May I just say, like, again, chapeau, looks amazing. It's the same age category, but looking ripped.
But she would be ripped if she's doing 100K.
It's amazing. Oh no, amazing. First of all, and second of all, she went into her bag. She pulled out this beautifully prepared meal, all beautifully. But I checked it out. It was a totally balanced meal, and sharing her homemade healthy flapjacks with me. So we just hit it off straight away. A girl bakes and
offering you
cooking
flapjacks.
I know.
Yeah.
It's gone even better.
Then you brought out this. Then
yes.
I overheard your conversation with the chap on the other side talking about being into the music business and so on. So, but this was a bit of a surprise. Like, oh right, what's all this about?
So we talked all about that, and then it just amazing. I feel so inspired that there are literally no limits and no age limits, because you've just told us somebody in their 80s and still competing. There are literally the only limitations up here.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. It's
It's incredible. It's incredible. So tell us about your regime. And tell us kind of a little bit about, so I want to know all the deets, basically. What happens on a day-to-day basis in your life? How do you keep fit? How do you train? And how do you eat? Let's start with your training, and we'll go to the food.
Well, the training really depends on where we are in the cycle, what's coming up and so on. So I've actually just come back from one of my big races this year, which I won gold at in the World Aquabike on Saturday. So I came back from that. But so normally, if that was the last big race, I'd have a few weeks off, just doing whatever I felt like. So being active, but not sticking to any particular plan. But this year is a bit different, because I'm hoping to race in the World Half Marathon, Half Ironman Championships, which is only 7 weeks away in New Zealand. So already I had a couple of days easy and back into normal training, getting prepared for that. I still have to make a decision about whether I'm actually going or not, because this foot is a bit of an ongoing issue, but I'm assuming that I am going. So today, for example, I swam for about an hour, just did a recovery swim of it was about 3 kilometers, I think it was, and then I went straight into an aqua jogging session. So that's, you have like an aqua belt around your middle to keep you buoyant, and you basically just run in the water. So, and I did those sessions back to back because, you know, it just saves time getting, you know, so you're not getting in and out of the water and getting changed. So I did those couple of sessions. I've just done some foot mobility to help with the recovery of my foot injury. And then I've got a couple of hours to do on the turbo trainer on the bike after this, and it's going to be like about half an hour warm up, building up steady with some sprints in, and then 2 by 20 minutes a particular heart rate with 10 minutes recovery easy, and then half an hour warm down probably after that. So that's a typical day. I usually do about 3 sessions a day. It might be more than that. So normally it's on a weekly basis, it's like kind of 2 key swims, 2 key bikes, 1 key run. So they're the hard ones, and then there's a lot of steady state recovery around that. So probably about 20% of the training is hard stuff, and the rest is recovery and strength work. As I've got older, I've found that I need to do more strength in particular, not so much mobility because I'm quite mobile anyway, but I do a lot of classes like yoga, body balance, Pilates, that kind of thing, and stretching, and like real try and lift heavy weights as well in the gym. So I do that a few times a week too. So.
Oh my gosh!
Do you know what sort of wattage you put out in terms of the bike?
Yeah, so my FTP is around 200, but it needs to be a bit better. Like, so yeah, if you've got any bike tips, that'd be good.
No, well, the reason I asked that was simply because yes, you're saying about the 2 by 20, etc. And same with me. I look at the functional threshold power, but of course, being a cyclist, we're all into the marginal gains, aren't we? So
yeah, definitely
nutrition and all of that sort of thing. And making
my position on the bike, and I need to make some adjustments around the drinks bottle I've got at the front. So I recently started triathlon guiding, and the lady I'm guiding is very, very high level in terms of cycling. She said, "Oh, you need to lose that bottle at the front. It makes you look like you've got a tank sat there between your arms."
Oh, right. Yeah. Interesting.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. It's yeah, very good. And so in terms of fueling, what are you eating? Let's talking, because one of the things I've been trying to do is get my grams per body weight on protein up. And so what are you eating? Are you measuring out your protein per day?
I just eat all the time, really.
Eat everything, yeah.
I often eat like as I'm driving, so I literally have my car is like a cupboard of food. So I'll just pull something out. Oh, there's a banana. There's a whatever tin of soup. I'll just open it and drink it down as I'm driving.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I don't really measure anything, and just make sure like I have a good breakfast before I do the first thing of the day, and always topping up on electrolytes as well. So I drink probably 5 liters of fluid a day. I like my caffeine, like the coffee, sort of a couple of cups of really strong coffee in the morning, but then I don't have it after lunchtime. But yeah, just try and eat as balanced as possible, and very little processed foods. So yeah, protein is obviously like really key, isn't it? But you still need the carbs and the healthy fats as well.
And all the amino acids, of course. I used to weigh out all of my aminos in the morning, 2 grams.
Right. I don't weigh anything. I just tuck stuff in.
She's like my kind of girl. I've told you, that's why we hit it off. And she had cake. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better. Amazing. And so I mean, sounds to me like you've got this thing completely nailed, really, or fantastic. What treats do you give yourself? You don't sound like to me that you don't have to be very strict about what you're eating because you're expending so many calories and you just need the energy coming through. But are there any things that you like, I'm just gonna eat these things now because I can? Is there anything like that you like to, any cakes or any treats like that?
Yeah, I do like cakes, especially homemade cakes. Yeah, so as I was saying, that I've recently taken up this guiding career in triathlon, and the lady I'm guiding, Rachel Elliott, she's a really fantastic baker, but there is a lot of sugar that goes into her. So she makes us just wonderful chocolate flapjack, is to die for. Amongst other things, she does loads of different cakes. So always when I go down there, it's like, right, we need to do plenty of training, Rachel, so that I can eat all the cakes.
All the things. So tell us
well.
about that, because most people listening don't understand what that is. So you were explaining to me when we met that you are a guide for a para-athlete. So tell us a little bit, tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's for a visually impaired athlete. So I last summer, she was looking for she was turning from cycling to triathlon. She had actually done some triathlons many years ago, and really she loves the cycling and the running, but really doesn't like the swimming very much at all. But anyway, she was like, yeah, I really want to give this this triathlon a go. Obviously, she needed a guide because she had unfortunately had a stroke 6 years ago. She's got a tiny bit of vision in the right eye, but she obviously she needs a guide to guide her around the race. So so we met up and instantly hit it off. And so with the swim, you're tied, you're tethered wherever you want on the body. But for us, we quickly realized it has to be around the leg, because if you have it around the arm or around your middle, the tether's going to end up getting tangled, with you with arms and things. So so that's the swim. You come out the swim, go to transition, and then you get on a tandem bike. So I'm on the front piloting it, and she's on the back putting loads of power down. And then the run's probably the easiest part, where you're tethered again, and you can have the tether wherever you want. So around the wrist for us. So yeah, so we've done 3 races together and won all 3. And we're hoping to get selection for some internationals for GB next year. She's a very inspiring lady, Rachel is. So yeah, if you ever fancy having a chat with her or with
definitely.
Yeah, she's very driven, and she trains a lot and works full time. So we're working on her swim, which is her weakness. It's improved a lot, but we've still got a bit of work to do over the winter. And I'm trying to work on my bike power and handling the tandem, because that was all new to me this year. It was very scary getting on a tandem for the first time. literally just mounting it seemed to be impossible. It took me about an hour to mount it with someone on the back. And she's actually a very natural, talented runner. So she's running like as fast or probably faster than me. So I need to really work specifically on my 5K pace, because these races are all sprint distance. So 750 swim, 20K on the bike, and then a 5K run. So it's really short. It's only just over an hour. So as soon as I get this race in New Zealand out of the way, it's like, right, going like probably have a couple of weeks just easy stuff, and then straight into, right, we've got to be targeting 5K run pace for me, and trying to improve her swim are like the main areas, I think.
Amazing. What I'm getting from this is just, honestly, I'm sure everybody listening as well, it's the energy, the drive, the goal setting, the tenacity, the bringing yourself up, keep going. And it's just that drive that is just so inspiring when I've ever spoken to athletes, but particularly you, Gwen. It's infectious. I love it.
Wow.
So, yeah, so for people listening out there that perhaps aren't really, that have not got a background in any type of sport, where can they kind of start? Because you know how it feels to be right at that bottom emotionally and mentally, and to sort of pick yourself up. Can you kind of inspire us? Because I know that you are somebody who really wants to kind of give back in that way. Give us inspiration and some tips for what can they do when they're in that rock bottom place, and then get going.
Yeah, so definitely reach out and speak to someone, like literally anyone, just to try and get yourself a little bit out of that dark place. And if you're thinking about, perhaps getting into some form of exercise, which I totally recommend, I think the best thing to do is to find a like-minded individual, or somebody maybe that's doing it already and who wants to come out and join you in whatever activity you want to do, because it's a lot easier if you can get out with someone else. You arrange a time and a place, and even if the weather's rubbish, you just get there, because they're going to be waiting on you, and you always feel fantastic once you've done whatever it is you're going to do, even if it's in terrible weather. So yeah, I think that's it. It's finding somebody to meet up to do something with, and also trying to set yourself a goal. It doesn't have to be a massive goal. It's like, you know, even just like a 10-minute walk down the road or something like that, you know, just anything at all, and to an initial goal that you can work towards. You take that off and then think, oh, right, okay, I'm ready to go on to whatever the next level of goal is.
Yeah, it's like taking that first step is sometimes the hardest thing, isn't it?
It is. I'd say it's always the hardest thing. Yeah.
And and I always say, make baby steps, little things, like you said, 10-minute walk that's not too onerous, and then you get into that habit, don't they? And they say that if you can do something consistently for, say, 30 days, that then is a habit, because you're then and 3 times a week, I would say, a good place to start.
It's also making it something that is kind of like quite easy to do anyway. So not I mean, take, for example, swimming. It's a little bit more difficult because it's subject. You've got to go to the pool, you've got to have the swimming kit, and you've got to find a time where the pool's open and so on. But so that might be a bit more awkward to get into. But yeah, just getting outside, like, and doing like a walk or a little jog or something like that is probably the easiest thing to start with, I would say.
And I also find that as well, if you've got some little ear pods or little, you know, earpieces, and you're listening to something on a pod or a phone, that also helps, because that helps you build the time up without thinking that's a half an hour of time that you've lost, because you've actually gained it back if you're listening to something motivational at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you listen to do you have your little earpods, or are you just like in your silent space?
I think in terms of cycling, if I'm doing a hard turbo session inside, I'll always have music on. But if I go out, I prefer to listen to the sounds of nature, actually. So you know, and running. So I'll listen to. I live in the countryside, so I'll listen to birds, and there's cows on the common, and golfers and things like that. So I prefer to hear natural sounds, really. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Because there's a lot of things with the cycling. I was going to ask you about that on the turbo, because a 2-hour turbo session for me is
it is hell. I really psych myself up for it. But the what I do is, like, I think, right, okay, so I'll put the medals around, and then I'll put, you know, some motivational thing up, and I'll think, right, okay, so I've got 7 weeks. I want to be in peak condition in 7 weeks. I have to do this session. It's a key session. If I need to drop another session because I'm tired or whatever, I'll drop a recovery session. But I've got key sessions. And then when you've done that, you get the confidence that actually I've done that. You know, I've not skipped it. I've got the benefit physically and mentally of knowing that I've done that. I've banked that session, and let's go on to the next one then.
Brilliant. One of the things I used to do, this will make you laugh, when I was on a turbo, is that I used to have a TV set up and a DVD player, and I had all of the classic cycle races throughout France and Belgium. And if I was going to do an hour session, I put the last hour of the race on, and then I'd be involved.
That would work. That definitely works.
It is very motivational.
I know what's coming up. So this weekend is the Ironman World Championships from a very famous Kona. So I know that it's starting like Saturday evening. So I've got down to do another session, like a long session on Saturday, and I'll be like on the bike. I'll time it, so I'm on the bike when they're doing their bike section. It'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, racing along.
Position.
Sorry, I was just going to say, before New Zealand, then how long do you taper for? Is that taper in the 2-week or 1-week taper?
Probably about 10 or 11 days. I still need to flight out. So yeah, obviously with the long flight out there, it's going to be 2 days of more or less nothing. Maybe I'll get a jog around the airport and some stretching, but you know, the bike will be all packed up while I'm traveling. I won't be able to get to a pool then. So that'll be like the start of it. So I'm looking at flying just under 2 weeks before the race to get
brilliant.
Yeah, to get out there and over. So it's Lake Taupo, so it's a bit of a drive from Auckland where I'll be flying to. But I need to get over there in enough time to build the bike, to get over the jet lag, and also to recce bits of the course. Well, especially the bike course. It's not as important on the swim and run, but especially the bike, because the bike's, you know, 55% of the race at least. So it's a big chunk.
Oh, wow. Gwen, I know that people listening to this as well, I mean, mere mortals like me, I have to say, that have not competed in probably since I was at school. But let's just say they're listening to this and they're saying, well, this lady only does this full time. She's got all the time in the world, but you are juggling. I know, because I talked to you before. You're juggling family life, a job. To tell us about, how are you managing to fit all of this in? Because this is inspiration.
Well, actually, my employer was really, really supportive. So they kept me on like all that period of time when I was severely depressed. And when I came back, my boss suggested maybe that I go a little bit more part-time, and actually that's exactly what I wanted to do, because I wanted to really give everything to my triathlon, to see, you know, where I could get to. And also I really got into coaching as well, coaching in the swim in particular, but as a triathlon coach. So I scaled back my working hours quite significantly as a finance manager, and really got into coaching, and I love doing one-to-one coaching, which is a real passion of mine. So we've got, I've got family as well. I've got a husband who's very sporty, and a son who's in his final level of school at A levels now. But they're both pretty sporty, and because I actually met my husband Sean through one pentathlon, he was an international athlete too, so he understands exactly, you know, the way what makes me tick, and what makes you know, what makes me happy, and so on. So he's very supportive. So I don't know how to juggle it. Just to manage.
Just juggle it. I think if it's a must do in your life, you just do it. You will find a way around it. That's amazing. I'm so inspired, and I just know that we're going to have more conversations like this. And the bit that I'm inspired is the mindset. That's the thing that's rubbing off on me. What you, Luke?
Definitely, yeah. And that's the thing. Anybody that we talk to that's, you know, up from an athlete background, yes, it is all about the mindset. It's that getting up, that doing it. And I know that even with Sir Steve Redgrave, for example, it was one of the things they talk about with when Matt Pinson, when they were actually going and rowing, they would actually not call each other. They would just expect the other one to be down at the river at 6 a.m. And that was one of the things about meeting up and keeping that motivation. So it's always very, very exciting and fun to talk to anybody that is an athlete.
Amazing. So inspired. I'm so inspired. And I know that as I mentioned, being of the perfect age that we are, Gwen, how are you finding in terms of, like, I know you mentioned your performance in terms of muscle and keeping that, you know, really being able to take care of yourself. How have you found this sort of transition into menopause for your performance? Have you noticed a big difference, or not really?
Well, to be honest, I had like sleeping issues for a long time before I went through the menopause, probably for 10 years, like to a greater or lesser extent. It came up sort of gradually over time. So I didn't realize, you know, all that was to do with the perimenopause. And I know in hindsight, it's exactly what it is now. So yeah, I did struggle, and it made me irritable, and I had all the night sweats and things like that. But so I decided to explore the HRT option. So I've been on that probably about 4 years now, and it's made a massive difference, a huge difference. So I'd be scared to actually not be on it now.
Same.
Yeah, it's the bit
like a sister.
Yes, I remember you going to the airport and the chap said, you said, "You're not taking that."
Oh yes. I actually was going to wrestle the man at security trying to take away. He's like, "Oh no, that's not." I was like, "Don't you do that's prescription medication? I will hunt you down. Do not take it away from me." Amazing. So we are so inspired by having you here, Gwen, and particularly, you know, your story and hearing your amazing story, your life story coming to this point, but also the inspiration that there are literally no limits to us achieving whatever we want to achieve. Are there any lasting and closing words you want to leave our listeners and viewers with that will really motivate them to kind of either start or keep going if they're facing hardship in their life?
Oh, that's a good question. Really just to set yourself a goal, like however small it is, and get other people sort of like supporting you on the journey to trying to achieve that goal, I would say.
That's amazing.
That's what we talk about as well, isn't it? With our baking club, we say make people accountable. So
that
if you're going to say you're going to make a cake, we're gonna contact you. Healthy cake,
sugar-free cake.
cake.
Amazing.
I'll have to come down and you can do this.
We'll have to get you into one of our sessions, because we want to make sure that, you know, people who have got healthy goals, who are, you know, looking after their health, still manage to have the treats, but without any of the downsides of the treats. So really
have your cake and eat it.
Have your cake and eat it without any downsides. It's been such a pleasure having you on Sweet Liberation today, and we hope that you will come back soon, and also with your partner who you are also competing with. We would love to have her with you.
I'm sure Rachel Elliott would. She's
love to have her on.
What she's had to overcome is really quite amazing. It's quite emotional actually hearing her story.
Amazing.
You think, wait till you hear hers.
Wow. Well, amazing. We can't wait. We can't wait to have you back. So with that said, we will love you and leave you. We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of Sweet Liberation as much as we have. And we will see you again next time. If you loved this episode, please make sure that you like and you share and you follow our channel and share our content, because the more that you share and like and follow our channel, the more that we can bring you fantastic guests like Gwen. So with that said, we'll love you and leave you now, and see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Stay on.